Good afternoon, Canada. Alex Monahan here, Foundations Party ineligible. And I'm just going to continue my intention of reviewing legislation. And I'm going to start actually reading through the entire Immigration and Refugees Protection Act. And because I was inspired to do that because of a lot of talk about refugees coming into the country illegally. And I thought we should just review it together and, decide for ourselves, see if what's going on, make sure we know. So, without further ado, let us begin. The Immigrations, Refugee, and Refugees Protection Act, last edited 2001. This act, excuse me, an act representing immigration to Canada and the granting of refugee protection to persons who are displaced, persecuted, or in danger. Her Majesty, by and with the advice of the Senate, advice and consent of the Senate and of the House of Commons of Canada, enacts as following. The short title. This may be cited as the Immigration and Refugees Protection Act. Interpretations. Definitions. Paragraph 2, subsection 1. The definitions in this subsection apply to this act. Board means the Immigration and Refugee Board, which consists of the Refugee Protection Division, Refugee Appeal Division, and Immigration Division, and Immigration Appeal Division, Commission. Convention Against Torture means the Convention Against Torture, and other cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment signed at New York on December 10th, 1984, Article 1 of the Convention Against Torture is set out in the schedule. Designated foreign nation has the meaning assigned by Section 20.1, subsection 2. Permanent residence means a person who has acquired permanent residence status and has not subsequently lost the status under Section 46. Refugee Convention means the United Nations Convention relations to the status of refugees signed at Geneva on July 28, 1951, and the protocol at the convention signed at New York on January 31st, 1967, Section E and F, Article 1 of the Refugee Convention are set out in the schedule. Act includes regulations and instructions. Subparagraph 2. Unless otherwise indicated, refugees in the Act to this Act include regulations made. Let me try that again. Subsection 2. Unless otherwise indicated, references in this Act to this Act include regulations made under it and instructions given under Section 14.1, subparagraph 1. Obligations and applications. Objectives, immigration. Paragraph 3, subsection 1. The obligations of this act with respects to immigration are, subparagraph A, to permit Canada to pursue the maximum social, cultural, and economical benefits of immigration. B, to enrich and strengthen the social and cultural fabric of Canadian society while respecting the federal, bilingual, and multicultural character of Canada. B1, to support and assist the development of minor official languages, communities in Canada. C, to support and develop, development of strong and prosperous Canadian economy in which the benefit of immigration are shared across all regions of Canada. D, to see that families are reunited in Canada. E, to promote the successful immigration of permanent residents to Canada while recognizing that integration involves mutual obligations for new immigrants and Canadian society. F, to support by means of consistent standards and prompt processing, the attainment of immigration goals established by the Government of Canada in consultation with the provinces. G, to facilitate the entry of visitors, students, and temporary workers for purpose such as trade, commerce, tourism, international understanding and culture, education and scientific advancement. H, to protect public health and safety and to maintain the security of Canadian society. I, to promote international justice and security by fostering respects of human rights and by denying access to Canadian territory to persons who are criminals or security risks. And J, to work in cooperation with provinces to secure better recognition for the foreign credentials, I believe that's foreign credentials of permanent residents and their more rapid integration into Canada, into society. Objectives, refugees. Subparagraph 2. The objectives of this act with respects to refugees are A, to recognize that the refugee program is in the first instance above saving lives and offering protection to the displaced and persecuted. B, to fulfill Canadians' international legal obligations with respects to refugees and affirm Canada's commitments to international efforts to provide assistance to those in need of resettlement. C, to grant as a federal expression of Canada's humanitarian ideals, fair consideration to those who come to Canada claiming persecution. to offer safe haven to persons with a well-founded fear of persecution based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group, as well as those at risk of torture or cruel or unusual treatment or punishment. To establish fair and effective procedures that will maintain the integrity of the Canadian refugee protection system while upholding Canada's respect for the human rights and fundamental freedoms of all human beings. F. To support the self-sufficiency and the social and economical well-being of refugees by relocating, reunification with their family members in Canada, to protect the health and safety of Canadians, and to maintain the security of the Canadian society, which is G. H. To promote international justice and security by denying access to Canadian territory to persons, including refugee claimants who are security risks or severe criminals or serious criminals. Applications. Subparagraph 3. This act is to be considered and applied in a manner that A. furthers the domestic and international instructions of Canada. B. Promotes accountability and transparency by enhancing public awareness of immigration and refugee programs. Facilitates cooperation between the Government of Canada, the provincial governments, foreign states, international organizations, and non-government organizations. D. Ensures that decisions taken under this act are considered with consistent with the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, including its principles of equality and freedom from discrimination, and of the equality of English and French as the official languages of Canada. E. Support the commitment of the Government of Canada to enhance the vitality of English and French languages, linguistic minority communities in Canada. And F. Complies with international human rights instruments in... Sorry, don't know why I'm struggling so much today. Instruments to which Canada is signatory. Enabling authorities, ministers of citizenship and immigration. Paragraph 4.1, or not 4.1, but paragraph 4, subsection 1, except as otherwise provided. This section of the Minister of Citizenship and Immigration is responsible for the administration of this act. Designated ministers. 1.1. The governor and council may, by order, designate a minister of the Crown as a minister responsible for all matters under this act relating to special advocates. If none is designated, the Minister of Justice is responsible for those matters. Minister of Public